Yeah, absolutely. I graduated from USC in LA in 2007, where I studied psychology. I had a really great experience there, and when I graduated, I had a tremendous opportunity to participate in Teach for America. And that brought me all the way to Brooklyn, where I taught in a very traditional public school in Brooklyn for 2 years. I taught fifth grade elementary school, so 25 students, all in my room all day, teaching everything. And that was a really wonderful experience in that I didn't study education, but I really fell in love with the mission of Teach for America, which is closing the achievement gap. I loved working with young people and became really inspired around what we can do with public education. But after my 2 years, I began to think, well, this might be for me. I think I can do it long term, but if I'm going to stay in the classroom as a teacher, I need to be in a place that I'm going to be given development support and resources, as I wasn't getting that right where I was previously teaching. So I decided to take a position teaching fourth grade in a charter school. And this is just down the street, same neighborhood, same students, exact same mission, but the difference was night and day in terms of student results. And that was largely because of the work that was done that was very strategic by this specific school. And that was a great experience. I learned far more about how to teach in that single year than I did in 2 years in the previous school that I taught in. But at the end of that year, I was very much burned out, but I was very much also still in love with this mission. I thought, how can I continue to make an impact on education, but perhaps outside the classroom? So I decided to take a position on the recruitment team for Uncommon Schools, which is the parent organization of the charter school in which I taught. And that was really great for a number of reasons. One, in that I was still serving the same mission that I fell in love with. And two, during that time, I began to think about maybe I'd like to start my own nonprofit. And being a recruiter gave me a lot of great insight to see the organization with an umbrella view, and then I got to pick the brain of the director of finance and operations and see what they need, what they want, what works and what doesn't, and then find people to put in those places. So it gave me a great kind of overview of what nonprofits look like from the top. During that time, I was fortunate that my direct supervisor had her MBA, and she very much planted the seed about perhaps returning to business school and thinking about entrepreneurship. At the end of that year on that team, I learned a lot, but I decided I don't want to be a recruiter for the rest of my life. And at that point, I'd been in New York for now 4 years, and I was ready for something big, and I needed to change. And I wasn't yet ready to return to school. I hadn't prepared for GMAT nor applications. I wasn't entirely sure what I would want to do professionally next, so I actually decided to sell most of my belongings. And I took the next 10 months, and I traveled around the world with nothing but a backpack. And that's absolutely the best decision I've ever made, and we can certainly chat in length about that. But upon returning about a year later, I went back home to Chicago, where I'm from, took a part-time job doing recruitment for charter schools there while preparing my applications for business school, which has led me to McCombs.
That's excellent. So, what's brought you to sit in front of me today at PwC? Why PwC?
Great question. I think when I think about my long-term goals when I graduate, it's still very much wanting to be a social entrepreneur. I still want to start my own nonprofit. But I recognize in the experiences I've had, I understand a lot about education, what works there. But in terms of running a business, I know very little. That's not my education during my undergraduate experience nor my professional experience. And thinking about what are the skills that I need and how am I going to get them in order to be successful when I hit the ground running. Obviously business school makes sense, but then thinking after that, I don't think simply a 2-year MBA is going to give me enough to hit the ground running and be successful. And I very much view consulting as an entrepreneurial position that will provide me skill sets, and that I view it very much as MBA finishing school. And I know, seeing my colleagues who've come from consulting and friends of mine who are in it, the skill sets that they've developed from their firm are really second to none. And I think that this is really the greatest place to learn entrepreneurial skill sets, business skill sets, and how things operate and run, so that when I do decide this is what I want to do for the rest of my life with my own company, I'll be ready to hit the ground running.